So here we are doing the T-Rex sliders. These are a no-cut type of slider, so they kind of bolt on wherever there are bolts to do it. Looks reasonably well designed. And did a couple other things. Put the rear passenger sliders on. I'm not going to do a video on that because it's super simple and, well, it's got a very, very well done video already. So not going to bother. Outside, nice day. Airplane going overhead. Wait for that for a minute. Probably going to happen again. Starting to lose the shade, so exposure on this side might be really kind of difficult. The other side should be okay. One thing I did, since you have to pull the motor mounts out, they say to support the motor, I put a ratchet strap across the lower triple and around the exhaust pipe. Tighten that up a little bit, and that's kind of about it. Get right into this, start going. Need to pull the two motor mount bolts out of the top, and then everything else is done with hex wrenches. So let me get those out and we'll get going. Having to reach across the side, over the seat to get some of this. You're working on both sides at the same time on most of this stuff. These bolts you will not need again. Save them in case you need to go back to stock, like everything else. One of the other first steps you should do is take the sliders all apart. And another one is to take the chain guard off, because as you can see, you can't get that bolt out otherwise. Let me flip over to the other side and get that out. Forgot to mention that. I was planning on doing that first as step number one. There's a little metal guard in back of these two bolts that's probably going to fall when you take these three bolts out. So be prepared. Kind of a pain to put back in, but not an impossible thing. And if you're expecting it, you can sneak a finger back behind that bolt and grab it. And that is the bracket, or the guard. Something to do with keeping the chain in place. It has a 14 on it, so maybe you're supposed to get different guards with different gears. I don't know. And rip that out of the way. Now we can take this bolt out. Once again, you want to Loctite everything. You may want to put it all together the first time and then Loctite it. You may want to Loctite things as you're going. I've actually already put this together, taken it apart, and now we're putting it back together. So I'm going to Loctite stuff. Take the rear bracket, these little guys. Again, follow kind of the directions. Not going to show everything because there are directions. They're decent. So I'm gonna put some goo on there. Again, the blue, because it's durable enough. We don't really need the red for this. That's probably overkill. Get that. Get the other bracket in your hand. Try not to get the goo everywhere. Now on the other side there's a bunch of wires that you're gonna have to fight with. Just be aware of it. And you're only gonna want to have this finger tight. That Loctite takes a little while to set up. So just finger tight it right now, and you'll come back through and you'll either torque things with a torque wrench or just tighten them until you feel they're tight. Should use a torque wrench, not gonna bother. So there's those two in. Time to do the next one. The next one's a little bit different. This spacer is threaded. It's supposed to be able to get a wrench on there. My wrenches are too wide to fit this groove. So not sure what I'm gonna do yet. Probably reach into the toolkit and grab good old sort of universals and mark up my aluminum. Yeah, that'll work. So let's get that on there. Got this side, got its spacer, little Loctite again. And we will jam this through. Probably should take the bolt for the rear and just kind of put it in there as a guide peg. Can't hurt. I'm actually going to take the socket for this one, or the hex wrench for this one, and put it on. See if it'll help me out. And I can already tell those vice grips are getting in the way. So we'll leave that till the actual tightening step, which will be coming right up. See if we can get these on here in some way or another. Don't need a lot, just need a little bit of purchase on it. That should do it. I'm going to go ahead really crank on this one, because there's only about one way it can be. And that's tight. Probably close to torque spec, but probably a little bit under when you actually get down to it. Alright, back on this side. And we will line this stuff up real quick. I'll get the Loctite over here in a minute. I just want to line it up real quick, make sure that we're close to right. These vent hoses are going to give you kind of a problem. Actually, no. Here's a mistake. Take that off. You don't want that on yet. I did this earlier. You need this piece. This piece goes through in the front. Pay attention to the arrow. Goes through just behind the intake, and it lines up with a square spot in the bracket, which I can't seem to find at the moment. And then the screw goes through. So let me get on both sides real quick and get that done. There we are. And I will put that in just finger tight temporarily because it needs blue Loctite as well. Because we're going to need a little bit of adjustment. The clutch can hit this back bracket, and you want to make sure, which you probably can't see it moving, but take my word for it, the clutch is down there, the clutch activation arm is down there, and we need to not hit that. So that's in roughly, it's in a square cutout, so it can't turn. So we can come back to that in a minute with the red Loctite. We might as well use it. And finish off this side. Now I can put the other bracket on. Get a little glue ready for this. Get a little glue ready for its back bolt. And put the mount in place. Gonna be kind of a handful here with a bunch of fasteners in my hands, but alright, there's one. There's two. And the third that goes in that rod, which I've missed. Obviously giving me some trouble. There we are. Don't want to leave this too long because that Loctite will eventually set up, and I'd say it's kind of important for this. Get those snugged up. Go back over to the other side and we'll start snugging other stuff up real quick. And yes, if you're wondering, I am using two cameras today because I should have done this with the last video. So we will torque that one down. Let's see, this one didn't get any Loctite yet, so we need to Loctite it. Off camera because I'm just off camera with it. Tighten that nice and tight. That nice and tight, which now suddenly seems to be out of position. This side's good. This side not so much. Let's see. probably this rear bracket is a little bit funny. Let's loosen it up again, which is a shame, because we had it on there all tight, and now we're looking better. Let's go ahead and tighten this guy down. And that's moving it too. A little more fiddly than just fitting it up. Looks like it's going to be a back and forth with these fasteners. Just kind of snug that one good. We'll snug that one good. Go back to this one. A little more torque. Left-handed, which doesn't work very well for me. And snug that one. Go back now and snug the through bolt. Hope things don't move. Can't quite see it in the viewfinder, so not sure. That's tight. Alright. Pull this guy out, put some Loctite on it, tighten it down, go do the other side. Off camera because, again, I'm off camera. Got some goo on there. Take the socket so we can turn it a little bit better. And drop it. All right. Not too much torque because it's kind of a small fastener. I'll go do the other side. What this really looks like, because, well, I can't really see it. It's very sunny over here, and I probably better decrease a little bit. And that's about as far as it'll go without a major change. A little more of the goo. Getting low on the goo, gonna have to pick up another tube soon. Alright, and that is the frame part. It's relatively solid. The slider sits out here, which means its only real support when it hits the ground is that bar that goes through. And it goes back to the frame through the bracket. So you're kind of relying on the strength of this bracket out here, conducting the energy through that somewhat spindly piece to the bracket on the other side, because these are going to be doing a lot less work than the other side in a crash, in an impact. Well, let's do the sunny side first. Get 2 more bits. and we will put the actual slider on. Got the mount for the slider. These are kind of sided. It's such a close fit on the plastic slider that if you get these backwards, it's a little more difficult to put the slider on. You can run them on the wrong side, but try to pay attention when you pull things apart. Again, more blue goo. A little bit of glue there. Ooh, a lot of glue there. Maybe too much. Well, it is what it is. And line them up and thread them in. Torque them to whatever it says in the instructions if you so desire to do that. Don't judge me because I'm not. The only thing I've found is to make sure that they're all the way, that's pressed all the way down in the bore. And be careful because apparently these bolts are made out of cheese. They do not take a lot of torque. Alright, there's those. Now we have the slider and its little tiny retaining screw. Hope it works. Again, more blue goo. It was left on the thing, good enough. Slam that in. Find the screw hole. A little easier with the socket on the end. So, socket on the end. There we are. Use that as a handle, and don't want to go too tight. It isn't going into plastic. If you go too tight, you're either going to crack the plastic or it's going to flow over time. It's still probably going to flow over time, so there's not much you can do about that. Alright, there it is. Not too bad. Let's go on to the other side and wrap this job up. Back on the other side, a little bit tougher angle because I've got it on my transport trailer turning into workbench. Seems to work out okay, and it'll kind of mirror what's going on at the track. Trying to only use my track tools as well, so that I know if I'm at the track and I have a repair, I have the tools. Just cheapo tools. Stuff I'm not going to cry about if it gets lost, damaged, or borrowed permanently while I'm at the track. Find your usual discounters for that type of stuff and use whatever you can get your hands on cheap. It doesn't have to be wonderful tools at the track. Just got to do the job, and within reason, even the cheap tools do the job. Because within reason, even the cheap tools are not too bad these days. Alright. Again, we'll push this down. The clearance problem seems to be on this top edge. It's where it's tight. So, again, don't over tighten because they're apparently made out of cheese, because I spun the other side there. That's this too small one. I need this one. 4, 5, 6, and 8 are the values that you're working with here. 5, 6, 8. That's a 4 in the base of the actual slider is a 4 as well. A little bit more goo. There we are. That one's in place. Get the screw in there. Use that as a handle. Because, again, don't tighten it too much. You're going to just wreck the plastic. It's not Delrin, it's ultra high weight polypropylene or something like that. UHMW, what are they? See, I do have the instructions here, and I did pretty much run them. It's not going to say what it is. Color UV treated, fade resistant. Yeah, UHM, ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. Not that it really matters. It should slide pretty nice when it hits the pavement. And it's probably going to hit the pavement at some point in time. Alright. Only thing left to do is fight with this cover. Already done that once. Wasn't real fun. But if you start by wedging the cover in place, which again is half of the battle. Trying to get underneath the chain is the battle. Let's try going at it from the top down. Probably be easier if you took that shift linkage off. I don't feel like doing that because it's all set up and I don't like where it is. Yeah, let's bend that plastic. Hey, that worked better. Bend the plastic. And got a little 14. Don't know if that means it's a 14 tooth gear that's matched up with. Either way, get this thing down here best you can, and make sure you've got it flipped around the right way. Which I thought I did. Yeah, I do. Put a screw through it to help hold it. Short screw, long screw. And well, the reason I knew to take that off is I read it on a review on Amazon that taking this cover off is not in the directions yet. Really needs to be done. And as you can see, it's not a lot of fun. Now we just need to line that up with screw holes. Start threading them in. Alright, there's that. Get the bottom one started. They did not have Loctite. I'm not going to Loctite them now. Wouldn't surprise me if I ditch that plastic cover and go with an aluminum cover, because I think it'll be easier to pull off at the track if I need to make a change. And since I don't know exactly what I do need for a front gear on this, I'm not going to do much of anything. Little bolts, not a lot of torque, so don't over torque them. Get a manual, look it up if you really need to. And that is the T-Rex slider.